Hey guys, it's Casey and welcome back to my channel. So, if you know the title, we're going to be talking about something that has taken me a while to talk about. It's the reason why I haven't uploaded in almost 2 weeks, because I just haven't felt like it, but today I decided to do it. But, I just threw on the smallest amount of makeup and barely did my hair because it's been busy and it's been a really emotional couple days / week. So, I'm just going to get right into the video. If you guys know, I'm a huge animal lover. I have had many animals. I still have some animals. But something happened the other week that I didn't think was going to happen. And it's taken me this long to kind of be able to come on and talk about it. And because I want to share it with you guys in order to maybe help someone else, I thought I would. So as you guys know, I had a leopard gecko. I will insert a picture. His name was Kona, and I have had him for a while. And I had never really gotten into the story of how I came to have Kona, just because, like, when I got him back in 2013, end of 2013, 2014, I wasn't on YouTube. I didn't do a video on it, so he's just always kind of been a part of this channel. In fact, I've done a few videos with him. But if you've been watching this channel for a few months, you will know that Kona has not been well. The weekend before Christmas, so the 22nd, which was a Saturday, I woke up. And Kona had been acting a little weird in the days leading up, like maybe like that Thursday, Friday. He had been acting a little weird, not himself. And, it's winter. You can hibernate leopard geckos. They sense the change. It was starting to get cold. So I didn't really think of the lethargy that he was displaying, or like him being lethargic. I didn't really think anything of it. So Thursday and Friday, he was just kind of in his hot hide and didn't really do much. But it was cold. I didn't think anything of it. He usually calms down in the winter anyways and kind of just hangs out and is not that up and mobile like he is in the spring and summer and fall. So those 2 days I kind of came home. He was eating fine. He looked good. He was attentive. He was aware. He was coming out when I would come in the room. So he didn't really seem that off, just a little quiet, which, like I said, wasn't totally unnormal. But I woke up that Wednesday, the 22nd, and he had thrown up all his food, which is not like him. Thrown up his shed, which is not like him. And if you don't know, leopard geckos eat their own skin because they're ground-dwelling lizards, and it's just something they do. He had thrown up his food, thrown up his shed, and he had diarrhea all over his cage. I woke up at about 5 in the morning, and it was late enough that I could see something had gone on in his cage. And I was a pretty overprotective parent, so I would check him pretty much every morning. I would just kind of be like, what's up, little man? And just say hi. So when I had gotten up at 5 and gone to the bathroom and went back to bed, I had walked by his cage and glanced over and saw that this had happened. So I cleaned it all up, and I immediately called his vet. His vet said that it was walk-in only, and that it was appointment and walk-in only, and walk-in was only until like 9, and they opened at 8. And then it was appointments, and they only did appointments until noon, because they close at 2, and their last appointment was at noon, because they want to make sure that they give all the care to the animals. And they're not open Sunday. So she said the best thing I could do was get him in a warm bath, try to get him in that day, which I knew wasn't going to be a possibility because it was the weekend before Christmas, and I had family here, and I had family obligations, and in light of that, she said the best thing you can do is keep him warm, keep him hydrated, and that's exactly what I did. In the same phone call, I booked an appointment for him on Christmas Eve, Monday at 9 a.m. And I had done everything I could do until Monday. You know, I gave him 2 baths a day, kept him warm, kept him hydrated, kept his humidity up, and he seemed relatively okay. He was coming out, he was still interactive, he was still engaging with me. So I'm like, okay, we'll figure it out Monday. Maybe it's just, you know, maybe he's, you know, he had previously had issues with being really constipated and just not being able to go potty. And they just give him a laxative and he's usually all good. So I was like, and he had been exhibiting the same stuff. So I'm like, well, maybe he's just in the same thing. Maybe he just can't relieve himself. So anyways, called the vet. They told me what to do. I booked the appointment, the same phone call, and it was like 5:45 by the time I got off the phone with them. You know, made sure his tank was warmer a little bit than usual, keep him warm, went back to bed. Got up, all of that, went through the weekend, didn't attempt to feed him. I fed him Friday night. I didn't attempt to feed him that weekend because I didn't want to upset him anymore. And for reptiles, regurgitation is really, really stressful. So I just wanted him to hang out. I wanted him to chill, kind of calm down. And I would see what the vet said Monday. So Monday came and I was at work. My mom was very fortunate enough to have the day off since it was Christmas Eve and took him in. And they diagnosed him with flagellating protozoa, which for you reptile people, you may know. For those of you who don't, it's just kind of like a little bug that they can get. Now, it's just something weird. I don't exactly know how I got it because he was kept clean. He was alone. I have no other reptiles in my apartment. He doesn't come in contact with any of my other animals. Just because like my animals usually don't have contact with each other because it's a guinea pig, a bird, a hamster, and him. So it's not like dogs that can play. But he didn't come in contact with any other animals, anything. But they said this can happen. And he just, for whatever reason, I don't know how, he just got sick. So they sent me home. They sent my mom home with a probiotic, an antibiotic, and instructions to antibiotic and probiotic, do it every day. Give him a warm bath every other day to keep him hydrated and keep him just kind of like moving. And they booked me in another appointment a month out to check how he was doing. They said he had lost 2 grams, which they weren't necessarily worried about because 2 grams is something easily made up. So they booked me an appointment a month out for a recheck, and in between that month, he had not eaten for a week, and then he started eating again. He took a week off of food because he was stressed and everything, and I called about the 3rd day into him not eating, and the vet said that was totally normal. Call back if he hadn't eaten by the, Saturday mark. He started eating Thursday, and he ate pretty consistently, therefore, after. But I noticed that he wasn't gaining any weight. But he wasn't losing any weight, but he wasn't gaining any weight back. So at the month, he went back in, and they said that he had lost another 5 grams. And at that point, they were kind of like, protozoa can be really stubborn. It can take a really, really, really long time to get it because the protozoa are alive and can lay eggs. So if the protozoa might be gone, but the eggs might still be there causing issues. So they said continue with the bath, continue with the antibiotic, and continue with the probiotic. And they gave me a diet supplement. Did all that, and they booked me another appointment 2 weeks out. 2 weeks came, and he hadn't lost any weight, but he hadn't gained any weight. So at that point, they were getting a little concerned. I was getting really concerned. He had started to show signs of distress. He had started to show with the wear of not eating. He had started to kind of not become himself. He had started to show all the signs of being really sick, which he really hadn't been exhibiting before. He was not moving. He was not doing anything. He was eating and happy to eat. And, attentive and aware, and he would look around. He would come out when I'd walk in. But he was just starting to look sick. So 2 weeks came, they said, all right, here's what we're going to do. They said, you're doing everything you can. You know, we can tell you doing everything we can. His gums look good, his bones look good, everything looked good. And other than him just kind of being a little too skinny. So basically they sent me home with him and said, you need to come back in 3 weeks. I'm like, righto. Did everything, and they said before I left, they said, now, when you come back in 3 weeks, if he hasn't gained any weight, if he hasn't shown signs of improvement, and if he hasn't started eating again on a regular basis without the intervention of the food supplement that I've been giving him, they were going to do like a lizard CT scan and blood work. The camera battery's charged again. They wanted to do blood work and a CT scan, but they were nervous about doing the blood work because, in particular, leopard geckos drop their tails when stressed or in a kind of harmful situation, and that's how they get away. And by doing the blood tests via their tails, they were afraid that he would drop his tail and that would not be good for anyone. So they basically sent me with new antibiotic and a different probiotic and more substitute food and sent me back and said they'll see him again in 2 weeks. Now, see him again in 3 weeks in hopes that he would turn around and kind of get better. And he did for a little bit. About 3 days after that visit, he started eating, he started going to the potty, he started kind of acting his normal self, coming out more, not being as lethargic. And I was really hopeful that everything was going to be a-okay. And that lasted for about a week, 2 weeks. And about a week leading up to the vet appointment, he stopped eating and got emaciated really fast and basically just became really, 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 really sick again. And I called them and then, you know, did the substitute food, got him eating, got him his energy up. And then the Saturday before his Monday vet visit, I called the vet and said, listen, I've had to go back to doing the food again. What should we do? And the vet basically said, well, I can't get him in tomorrow or today, but we're seeing him Monday, so we'll figure it out then. And she said, just in the meantime, she said, kind of make him comfortable, do the baths, do the warm soaks, keep his humidity up, do everything they've been doing, and if we need to do all the tests on Monday, we'll do it. Now, mind you, I'm probably almost 4 vet visits in and 2 months into this, and because it's February at this point, like all this time later, and I spent a lot of money, and it got to the day of the vet visit, and Sunday he just didn't seem himself, and I basically called my mom, who had been the one taking him, and basically said, listen, we kind of need to talk about what we're going to do if they say something that is not just try this and come back. And basically, we had figured that they would say, give him this medication and come back in a few weeks, because that's what they've been doing. And we felt like we were at some point on the right path to getting him better. And each time it seemed like he would get a little bit better. And, you know, it just got to the point where I was kind of like, we need to talk about this. You know, this is kind of what, you know, a reality at this point. So my mom was like, well, don't worry about it, because I wanted to take the day off of work. She said, no, like, you don't know what they're going to say. Let's wait and see, she said, and you don't have to do anything that day. So don't take the day off of work, see what they say. They might just give him a different medication and do what they've been doing, which is just send him on his way. And I'm like, fine, whatever. I'll wait. So vet visit comes, and it's like, he goes in at about 11:30. My mom got there a little bit early, so they took him in a little early. So it's like 11:45, and she basically says that he's lost a lot of weight, and he's very ashen meaning like he doesn't have a lot of color, and that he's just all around not okay. And she said that they took him back to give him a soak and try to get some of the shed off, because he'd been having a hard time shedding, and I would spray him, I would give him baths, I would do everything I could to keep him okay. And she basically said that we had two options. They could kind of do an IV and give him the antibiotic, and if it worked, and it was a big if, that it would take months and months and months for any sort of result. And then they told my mom, though, that there was also the point that did we want to continue to do testing and pump medication in him when it kind of seemed like nothing had been working, and that we had gone down every avenue we could, and that we had tried everything we could. And basically my mom had done everything we could, and basically my mom texted me that, and I asked her to call me, and it took about 5 minutes for her to call me. And she said that they had taken him back, and they were, warming him up, getting some of the shed off, kind of just checking him over to see if they could get him to poop, because they could kind of test that, and it's a less invasive test. And she basically told me what they had told her, and at that point, I knew that I needed to make a decision, because his quality of life wasn't there anymore, and he was almost 6, and I know that is not that old for a leopard gecko. It might seem that old, and on the scale, it's at the lower end of their life expectancy. Their life expectancy is 6 to 10 years of captivity. Now, some live for 18, 19 years. They have some that have lived almost 30, that have just had like really good care, and I know that 6 isn't that old. It's on the lower, it's on the sooner end of the life expectancy scale, but that that basically they said there's nothing else we could do, and that the one thing they could do, they weren't even convinced would work. So I at that point made the decision that it was time, and that he needed to be at peace. And it was a really hard decision to make, and I don't want to see any comments on this video that it was the wrong decision, because A, you didn't see him, and B, you weren't there. And I know that I'm going to get dragged probably for doing it, but when the vet came back with him, when my mom was talking to her after I talked to her, and my mom was going to, tell her we had made a decision, the vet had pointed something out that we hadn't noticed because he hadn't lost a ton of weight yet. But when he got really skinny at the end, the vet took him back, and when they got his shed off, they noticed that he had purple spots down from his head to his tail, basically, and that was indicative of ammonia buildup. And what that meant was that somewhere along the lines, in the last couple weeks or even week, he had basically gone into kidney failure. And that that at that point, when she realized that, that really cemented that she was like, it's like, basically she said I could have done everything in the world and it wouldn't have done anything. I could have done every test imaginable. I could have spent millions of dollars on, you know, testing and medicine and everything, and it wouldn't have made a difference. And at the point that my mom told me that, like, I became at peace with my decision, because it wasn't about me, it was about him. And I know I'm talking about him like he was like a dog or a cat, even though he was a lizard, but yet he was my animal, and he was an animal that I loved and cared about, and he was in my life. He was in my life longer than any of the animals I've had. I mean, most of my animals, I mean, I've had hamsters and fish and stuff, and, you know, they don't live 6 years, you know. So he was one of the first animals that, like, actually, like, had a long potential lifespan. And yeah, I mean, as soon as I heard that, I became really at peace with my decision, and at peace with the fact that it was the right thing to do for him, as sad as it was. And I was wrecked. It's taken me a week to even be able to really talk about it without, like, breaking down. But yeah, I mean, he was my buddy. He, you know, he was more than just a lizard to me. And I think anyone who has a love of animals, and in particular, like, someone who loves reptiles like I do, like, they're just as important as a dog or cat or, you know, a pet like that. I wanted to make this video to kind of maybe help somebody who is thinking about getting a leopard gecko. And the other part of the story is, I never told you guys how I came to have Kona. I moved back to Chicago in 2013. And when I moved back, I didn't have any pets. Because I had just come back, and the first pet I got back was my bird Zane, which you've seen. And, you know, basically I always wanted a reptile, in particular a snake. But my mom was really, my mom is, not was, but is very, very, like, deathly afraid of snakes. So she basically said no. And for the longest time, I was going in between, like, getting, like, I knew I wanted a reptile because I love reptiles. They have a very special place in my heart. And I've always loved reptiles and snakes and lizards and stuff like that. And basically, I wanted something along those lines, and I did research, and I stumbled across leopard geckos. I basically researched, like, beginner reptiles, and I stumbled across leopard geckos as well as bearded dragons. And for some reason, I just really loved the look of leopard geckos. They can come in so many colors, whereas bearded dragons are pretty much like one. I mean, there are different hues, different, like, kind of variations in the color, but leopard geckos can have so many patterns, so many morphs. And I basically did the research and went to PetSmart and asked if they had any. And they just had a shipment of very tiny babies. And they were about 8 weeks old, which is far too young. Looking back and kind of, like, knowing what I know now about leopard geckos, because along the way, like, I learned a lot just from, like, having to take them to vets and stuff, which I'll touch on in just a second. It's way too young. He was way too little. I'll insert a picture of him over somewhere when I got him. So I got him, set up the tank, and basically 2 weeks into having him, he stopped eating. Took him to the same vet that I took him to this year, and basically they said the same thing. They were like, he's far too young, he's still a hatchling. I don't know who sold you him, because whoever sold you him clearly wasn't, like, a good reptile seller because they should have never sold him that. They're not established. A lot of things can go wrong. But we got him back eating, and he grew up to be the beautiful lizard he was with, you know, very few problems in between. He did have some health issues, and they don't know if it was because of how he was brought in to PetSmart or his lineage, aka who his parents were. You know, if his parents had health issues and were bred for the sake of just being able to breed out babies and sell babies to chain stores, you know, they could have had genetic issues because he did have some health issues that were addressed, you know, in his life that were always rectified and then were made better and made non-existent. So I came to have Kona that way, and, you know, knowing what I know now, I would have never gone to PetSmart, and I'm telling anyone watching this video, if you are thinking about getting a pet, do not go to a chain store. Do not go to a PetSmart or a Petco. I mean, getting stuff there is fine, but do not buy your animals there because there's too many for them to pay attention to. If you can, try to get it from like a reputable breeder or a individually owned pet store. Like most towns like have their own like pet store. Like we have our own like privately owned single pet store in the town I used to live in, and there's just one. Like the guy who owns it owns that single pet store and nothing else, and they only have as many animals as they can have. Like there's no like mass production like the big stores. But anyways, yeah, that's how I got to own him and everything, and it's been a really sad week. It's been a really emotionally draining week for me. And I wanted to come on here and let you guys know because I know he's been in some videos and I talk about him a lot. And because I put most things out there for you guys. Anyways, this is just part of it. And as devastated and as sad as I still am, I still cry sometimes. I know that he's at peace, and that is just as sucky as it is and as bad as it is, you know, that brings me some peace. I mean, this is the reality of having pets. If you're gonna have pets, there's gonna be a point in time when you're faced with these things, and it's never easy. You know, it'll never be easy. It'll never get easier. But it's just something that is a reality of owning pets that actually like need care. You get fish and that's fine. But when you get a pet like a snake or a lizard or a guinea pig or a dog or a cat, like, they need vet visits, they need proper care, and I feel like this is just the reality and ramifications of having those pets is you gotta make shitty decisions sometimes, and this is one of those times. And, you know, I would pretty much do anything to have him back, but I know that that's not an option, so right now I'm just trying to do the best I can. But I wanted to come and say hi because I know I haven't, and I've wanted to explain to you guys what's been going on because I've been absent. But I also wanted to show you guys, this is one of the last things I have of him, and this was made by the vet. It's a little heart with his little paw prints in it, and I am so happy to at least have this little tiny part of him. Those are his actual paw prints. Like, they actually like stamped his paw prints, and it means a lot that I have, you know, this little item because it's all I have left. So anyways, sorry this is kind of a downer video. I know it's not the typical video I make, but like I said, I wanted to share this with you guys, and I wanted to kind of explain why I've been a little MIA the past like week to 2 weeks, because I've been dealing with this and going through everything and just, yeah. So if this video helped you in any way, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. I will be back next week with happier, better videos. This is just one of the weeks where I just needed to kind of like deal with stuff. So thank you guys for watching if you made it this far, and hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you guys next time. Bye! Don't forget to subscribe.